Hey, I'm Jonathan, and I live in London, England.
Hey, I'm Jeff, and I live in Perth, Australia.
Together, we are Ekko and Sidetrack.
We produce music that sounds like this.
And this.
And even this. This podcast is about music, creativity, and everything in between the giant space that separates us.
Welcome to A Band Apart with Ekko and Sidetrack.
Hey buddy, how you going?
I'm well. How are you?
I am on a roller coaster of emotion. Thanks for asking.
Let's dive into that. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We've got good responses from the podcast so far. We've as of last week, the podcast has been also available on Spotify. We'll add that link to the end of the show to help people out, so you can listen to it on Spotify or your podcast app. Not putting it on SoundCloud though, are we?
No, we're not muddying the waters up there. Just keep listening to music. SoundCloud, the app, is weird anyway.
Yeah. The app is very, very frustrating to navigate.
Yeah.
I find, it's frustrating. But anyway, we should before the podcast started, we started talking about something quite interesting, and I wanted to dive right back into that, if that's comfortable with you.
Sure.
So it has something to do with the idea of being in love. And I guess, because I had some conversations on the weekend that made me think about it a bit. Do I think I was in love with my first ever girlfriend? No.
No.
Not at all.
I definitely felt something strong.
I felt something, but I think that is something to do with the fact that, oh my God, here's the first girl that like I can have sex with kind of any time and hang out with, and it's really cool to go out for dinner, or really cool to like go and get drunk and then we can have sex. Like there's too many, I think it's just too much about sex and too much about having a little partner for the first time.
Yeah, that's true.
Every girlfriend after that, I felt more and more attached to, of course, and every one I have loved, but I think love is like, the more intense it gets, the more you love, and the more understanding you have about love. You know, like I didn't know that I could love someone as much as I love Leo, Audrey, and Seb, for instance.
Our niece and nephews. Yeah, that's true. Like, love is an interesting thing because your capacity for love increases the more you love. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, basically. So like every partner you have, you technically love them. You should be kind of increasing your capacity to love and getting to stages being like, oh my God, I didn't even know I could feel like this about someone. Therefore, you're stripping back the you strip back the surface level stuff about love, and you start getting to the actual stuff. So you say strip away having sex with someone, and you take that to like having someone defends you in an argument with someone else, or you see your partner show extreme compassion for someone else, and there's like a deep respect there, and you love them a bit more because of that. Like, you know, those deeper parts of love, which I think I've gotten to, but never like, I don't know,
fully opened the box.
Yeah, I don't think, no, not at all. But I don't think a lot of people have.
No, you know what the love box might look like, but you don't know what's inside.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a case for like not saying I love you to someone. I didn't say I loved you to my last girlfriend because I wanted to really make sure I meant it, and like, or I thought like I've got to get to this level. It's like I expected too much from love, and that ended up being like kind of a fucked thing because it was quite painful. and my reason for not saying I love you was very selfish. Because it's like I have to get to this point of understanding, like I kind of do love you, but love to me is like fucking whatever it was to me at that time. And yeah, so I don't think you need to have this crazy understanding of love to say I love you, but I think the meaning of love definitely increases as the depth of the relationship increases.
Yeah.
And maybe you can articulate it more. It's like you have a better understanding of what the sea is like the deeper you go and you look up, rather than just swimming around the top and looking down and being like, it's just kind of dark down there.
Understanding the languages of love as well, like the way you show people how you love them and how you care about them. Like they say, there's a guy that wrote a book that's got 5 languages of love. There are acts of service, gift giving, physical touch, quality time, and words of affirmation. And most people need some combination of them. And it's interesting to think about interactions in that capacity and how you show love and how you need love as well, because it's a two-way street. Like just standing there with your arms open and being like, love me, isn't enough to receive love. And just like offering your love with your arms open, saying be loved, isn't enough to give love. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I've been in love. And again, like the varying levels that you feel, like you get to a new point and you're like, whoa, I haven't felt this before. Is this what real love is?
Yeah.
Is like, am I there? But really, I think it's more like wading into a pool and getting acclimatized and then going deeper and like being more comfortable swimming around.
Yeah.
Rather than like you said, like, you know, you can be in love. I'm also standing in the pool if I'm standing in the shallow end up to my fucking ankles.
Yeah.
It means you're still in the pool.
But if you've never been in a pool before and your ankles go in a pool, you're like, holy shit, this is crazy.
I'm wet.
This is crazy. I'm wet. I'm in a pool. And then, as you said, you acclimatize to it and go deeper and deeper and go, oh my goodness, I could get my full body under here. And then it's essentially a pool that has an everlasting depth, and you kind of...
And you can drown.
You can drown. You can drown. And as you get older and you go deeper, maybe the capacity for drowning is...
Capacity to hold your breath longer, maybe.
Yeah.
And also realize that you can breathe underwater to some degree.
There's also some people that, as they get older, they get more cautious and they start to wade out of the pool. So like, you know what? I'm only ever going to be halfway in because I nearly drowned.
Or I didn't want to be vulnerable enough to let go of the bottom.
Yeah.
And like see how deep it goes and just like step off the edge, basically. I think as well that love isn't just between two people. If we stick with the pool analogy, you can get love from all over the place. Like you coming from a place of love is important. And that, I suppose, means you're standing in the water saying, you can come in, man. Like come and swim. It's like, it's absolutely fine. And someone might be resisting that. But when they, you know, it's a hot summer's day and they even just up to their ankles, they just dangle their feet in the side. And you're like, do you feel better? And you're like, yeah, I do. Because it's not, love is this weird thing that, you know, movies and gift cards have screwed up. It's about like kindness, compassion, togetherness, understanding, closeness, and all these other amazing things that like can be between any two people in the world. And you can also love an object, but it won't love you back. And I think some of the magic of love comes from that, like when you match someone else's love, it's not like the glass can only go so full and it overfills and spills out. The glass magically gets bigger and you can both keep adding to it, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But really, if you've got glass in a swimming pool, then you're breaking the rules.
Exactly. And it's dangerous because if it breaks, you're never finding those pieces. But wait, what we should be doing, what everyone should be essentially doing is like living in a bit of your world should be damp, if you will. It should be a bit wet. We should all be living in water world if pool is like water.
Yeah, we definitely should be. We should be living in kindness, living in love. Because if you approach something from a perspective of love and thinking that that's the outcome that you want, then it's going to be pretty positive. Like, you can get hurt and things can not go right, but if you've come from that perspective of loving kindness, compassion, then you've given it way more chance than if you come at it from a fearful, angry perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Not anything acted out. Being motivated by fear or anger is just going to lead to the dark side. Basically.
Essentially, that's how you become Darth Vader.
You never have positive... You're never going to have positive interactions if you don't. If you're motivated by anger or sadness or fear, or it's all the same shit. If you're motivated by love, that's the only way you could possibly hope to have better interactions. And I mean, as well, like, let's just be clear, we're not talking about love in a sense of like I love everyone and like, hey, like, it's not like a hippie love, if you will. People always think that love and kindness, they always associate it with just that archetypal hippie, like, hey man, that kind of thing, which is just what it is just being kind, essentially, and acting with grace, and not what it is. It's not thinking that the person you're about to interact with is a dickhead straight away. I think we talked about this on the last podcast. Like, it's changing your base level to be open rather than closed. Think everyone's lovely rather than thinking everyone's evil or an idiot.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. That's totally it. It's a big thing to learn, and it's a big thing to like feel as well, because feeling love takes a lot of risk. Maybe there is risk associated with being loved and loving, and vulnerabilities and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a very deep subject with like lots of amazing moments, and also lots of potential for pitfalls and things like that. And
oh yeah,
what's the adage? It's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. And
yeah,
I mean, and you can add to that is like any kind of feelings you have, you should be with them and feel them, because that's the thing that makes us human. It's like, otherwise you're just an animal. You're like, because you're having these feelings, you're feeling sad, or you're feeling loved, or you're feeling even anger or anything. You should be in that feeling and be present with it and be like, whoa, look at me. I'm having the feelings. I'm feeling the things. I'm being human. And that's the joys of doing what we do here on Earth, I suppose.
Like a bear can be angry, like a mama bear can be angry if you go near the cub because it wants to protect the baby, because it loves the baby, but it can't afterwards reflect and go like, you know what, I love my baby so much that I was angry at that guy. It's just responding to stimulus. But whereas we can reflect and we can, we have more of a control, if you will, or more awareness, I guess, of our emotions and how we interact with them. There was, I think I've told you this before. One of the first girls that I felt like I loved.
Shout out to Susan. Just kidding.
We kind of stopped seeing each other. And I remember I was I was kind of torn apart, and I was working in our kitchen at the time. And one of the older apprentices, a guy called Dave.
Susan?
I can't remember his last name. It wasn't head chef Dave. It was apprentice Dave. And I remember he dropped me home, and I was kind of like, I think he was 30, so I would have been 16, 17. I was really sad, and I was like, I think I'd cried at work and was cut up about it. And he was like, isn't it, like, I know it's really sad, man, but isn't it amazing that you could get to a point with someone else that you felt this way to feel as sad as you feel?
Mm.
And I was like, yeah, that is actually kind of cool. Like, it's pretty cool that I could feel this way, like this intensive about it. And he's like, no matter how bad things get at certain times, there's always that that feeling of like, it's pretty amazing that I could feel like this. And that, I think, has helped me in my life whenever something bad has happened. There's always been that like little bit of almost hope, but it's not really hope. It's more just stepping outside of something for a second and going, wow, that's what real sadness feels like. Or, well, wow, that's what real happiness feels like. It's amazing that I could feel that way. And it's, again, like getting that outside perspective of how you're feeling, separating yourself slightly from the person that's getting the feelings and more being like the observer.
Yeah, it's the feeling of gratitude. Again, that's probably starting to become an overused word, but it's so true. Like, if you can step away from your feelings and be like, I'm so thankful that I can feel them, and I'm so thankful for the person that's making me feel these things. And like, it's like witnessing the little things in life as well. That's an angle of gratitude. Like, remember last year in Europe? No, not last year, the year before. Jeez. In Berlin, we saw at least 3 or 4 gift-giving ceremonies, like just strangers giving gifts. And it's like a really beautiful moment to see. Like, we'd like go like, oh, look, there's another gift giving. And it was like, 2 people giving a present at a dinner table, or like there was like an interaction at an airport as well, like a couple, and he was like standing there and like they were saying goodbye, and he gave her something, or she gave him something.
I don't know how we saw so many gift givings on fucking like, we were in Berlin for like 4 days.
Yeah, and we didn't really spend that much time outside during the day, let's be honest. So I think it's a gift in itself, Jonathan, that we saw that kind of behavior. But
So
drawing attention to it and seeing it and observing it makes you feel more grateful for the world that we live in, that these kind of things can exist. Like, even something as cool as, I don't know, this is going to sound corny, but like sometimes when I'm driving and I'm stuck in traffic, or even if I'm just driving on the road, like I like seeing a family interact, or 2 kids interact. Like, I saw some kids in the street the other day playing cricket, and that made me happy, because I'm like, that used to be me, man. That like, those guys, like, I wonder what's going on. Like, it's just like, I didn't have to say anything to them. I didn't have to do anything, but I could just appreciate that someone else is living their life, doing something that's awesome, and trying to bowl their mates out in their front yard with a tennis ball.
Do you think that appreciation has increased during the time of COVID? Because it's made everything feel a bit more fragile. So just like, it's that everyone's maybe smelling the roses a bit more. So people are more aware of this kind of thing, rather than being a bit more closed off, or maybe their lives are slightly less busy,
Yeah, I mean, there's that aspect is there for some things. I've always felt like I've appreciated like little things, like even just like walking in the shops and smiling at a baby. Like I used to like smiling at children when I worked as a waiter.
We really also really like kids, like want kids, love interacting with kids, and being like silly and like making children laugh and stuff. Like
I think we just like making everyone laugh. It's we're kind of performers to some degree. Like that's kind of who we are. We like we'll go for it in a moment of interaction, I suppose. And I enjoy that moment as well, like whether it's the saying a funny thing that comes. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not sitting there going like, oh, I hope someone mentions the plastic bags because I've got a real zinger about plastic bags. It's like it just comes out of me. And like previously I might have like said it under my breath or something, but now I just like outwardly say it. Like if we're at the shopping center, like I've gone and reached for carrots before and someone else has been there, and I've said to myself like, this will be funny for them to hear. And I've gone, ooh, that one's a bit big. Ooh, that one's slightly intimidating. And like they've gone like kind of like taken a double take, and I have never acknowledged them, but I've done it. I've performed for this person so that they can have a little like moment, and I think that's fucking hilarious.
That's the thing. Like I think we've talked about this before as well. Like that's the gift. That's the gift we're giving. Like that. That sounds so pretentious, but like that's.
I was put on this earth to make people laugh and smile.
No, but like it just makes us smile.
Yeah, man.
Like even you telling me that, or like when we've told funny things to each other, we laugh and we get something out of it. Like that's benefiting us, and maybe that person fucking laughs at it and goes, "I had this guy said a funny thing in a shopping center," or
maybe maybe they're like, "Oh, that was a bit weird," or whatever. But I impacted that person. I moved the needle, man, because I think more people need that in their life to be like,
fuck yeah,
interacted with, shooken up a little bit.
People need some silliness injected into their life, man.
Oh man, I'm ready to inject silliness into anyone's life. Honestly, I am. We've said this before countless times in countless situations, but we will go for the laugh above almost anything else.
Can you think of any times that you've gone for the laugh and it's really just fallen on its face?
I've definitely said some inappropriate things, like when like everyone's laughing and like, oh hey, and so said, and everyone's like, ha ha, and then you go like, and there was a data said, and everyone just goes, whoa, and you're like, oh, my brother's not here to laugh at my like next level taking. I've also done stuff in school where the physics teacher once said, Jeff Hansen, get up, like. You just continue to talk, and there are actually people that want to learn in this class. And I stood up and I looked him in the eye and said, really? And got a huge laugh from the class. And he threw me the fuck out. I could have held my tongue, but I thought I wanted to be cheeky. I wanted to like push back. And I mean, I've definitely said some things that have not worked, but whatever. It's like, I mean, I'm not neither of us are like comedians testing material. It's like, it's the natural inclination we have towards humor, and
should be entertaining and just be yeah. Sorry.
No, I wasn't saying much at all. It's all good. Apart from feeling things and having emotions, something else I did in the last day was struggle with my digital hoarding. I thought I would take 80 gigs of music. That's music I've acquired over the years, and put it on Dropbox. Free up some hard drive space and put it on Dropbox. And now I've got 2 or 3 days worth of moving files over from everything from Jay Dilla to Queen. And I'm now regretting that decision. And it makes me think that perhaps I should just delete that 80 gig, because I never listen to that music anymore. Not that I don't listen to the artist. It's just not how I listen to music. I go on Spotify and I have the world's record collection and I go, I want to listen to this. So am I willing to part with 80 gig worth of music?
Okay, so before we started this conversation, I did say to you, I did advise that you could delete it. I said maybe you should just delete it.
Yes. Yes.
But part of me, even when you said that, part of me goes, but what if you want to DJ at someone's wedding one day, or if you want to...
That's exactly what it's about.
Or if you want to sample something, or if you want to do this, and buying tunes now isn't as easy as it used to be. So maybe you need a Jay Dilla song that you can't necessarily buy unless you buy it off Bandcamp, or like you then have to rebuy tunes that you might possibly need one day.
That's the hoarder mentality, man. That's the hoarder mentality. That's like keeping a shoebox because it fits DVDs and VHSs. And if you get enough salt and pepper shakers and you need to transport them somewhere, it'll fit them as well. It's like there's always going to be a use for something.
You know what?
And you just transported salt and pepper shakers recently?
No, I've got a stack of boxes in my room right now, but I'm keeping them mostly for moving, because boxes are very handy if you move. I've recently moved. If I need to move again, I've got some boxes, but I do have them stacking up. But so do you...
Great addition to the story.
Do you... do you want to... So if they're the reasons you want to keep the music, why don't you put it on a hard drive?
Yeah, that would make more sense. I didn't have a hard drive with me, and I've since found a hard drive that probably has 80 gigs. I can just transfer it over, and it'll probably go faster than going to Dropbox. But also part of me just goes, just let it go, man. Fuck it. You didn't even know that music was there still. And there is probably some stuff that's not on Spotify and some interesting things. Oddities and stuff, but I don't know how precious you can be about digital stuff. I'm precious about photos.
Yep.
As I take a lot of them and they really jog my memory. I'm precious about writing. But otherwise, most other stuff you can recreate, or it can be found again, or it can be you'll hurt that it's gone and then you'll forget about it. And that's the joys of... I must have countless hard drives sitting there with projects on it, or I need to go, this uni assignment was really good, I'm going to save it. Or even music, man, the way we build up tons and tons of project files that never go anywhere. You shouldn't go and delete it, but there's probably somewhere between deleting ones that you're not going to use and holding on to everything you've ever created.
Well, I think it's part of digital hoarding is a real problem because you never have to delete anything. There's always more hard drives.
Cloud
there's more
storage
space,
is about.
There's cloud storage. Never delete anything. The automatic upload. We're leaving this paper trail of everything in our lives. So you never have to say goodbye to certain things.
Man, Elon Musk on Rogan's podcast the other day, he was relatively boring. If anyone's interested, Joe Rogan's podcast with Elon Musk, the most recent one. I think he was more interesting the first time. But he talks a bit about or he just mentions the like concept of like a digital ghost. Like when someone dies, they've left behind enough of paper trail on the internet that you can kind of see what they were doing, and like
Yeah.
that can even be brought back up. Like, you know, you can go and retweet someone that is no longer with us and like, you know, throw their name into a conversation and things like that. It's previously not really been a thing, but it's just an interesting idea as we hold more and more and more digital stuff, whether it's our social media or anything. There's this like echo of us through the internet and our computers. It's very strange, and I don't think anyone will ever. There's too much data out there. There's too much information. No one's ever going to pore over it all, but it's an interesting kind of concept to think of what you leave behind and what you deem worthy of keeping and even valuing. Like, there'd be stuff, man. I have an old Apple G4 Power Mac sitting in my room. It's the first computer I have. No, it wasn't the first computer I owned. It was the first like computer that was just mine in my room. And there's like probably loads of great photos and stuff from high school and things like that I need to get off that computer. But in my head, I'm like, if it just sits there, it'll be okay. But hard drives fail all the time and computers fail all the time. So like, I actually need to do something about that. And yeah, the most valuable thing on there is the other photos.
And the folder of Mike's apartment.
Oh yeah, the porno. Yeah, one of my friends in high school like used a credit card he had and became a member of a paid porn site for, I don't know, a month or something, and just download as much as he could. And then he when he sold me his computer, he's like, oh, I just need to grab something off it. And he copied the folder, but then the folder was still there, and it was under like it was hidden under the most boring sounding set of folders, like social studies readings 2, homework, and then it was like Mike's apartment. And for anyone out there that doesn't know what Mike's apartment is, Google it.
I don't know how I found it, but it was a fucking treasure trove when I did.
Yeah, that's when the computer was moved out of my room.
Into a more public place.
Onto the kitchen bench of Mike's apartment. No. But yeah, the digital hoarding thing, I don't know, man. I got to struggle with it. Also, I've got to do some Googling on the best way to cancel uploading 80 gigs to Dropbox.
Yeah, I think you can just right-click cancel.
Yeah, but then there's it tries to put it back in some weird way. I'm just going to read about it because I know I've flashnickered things before.
But what you should do with your other computer is just, you know, it's not a bad idea to go through, and it's going to take loads of time. I need to do it. We all probably need to do it. Of like, go through and organize your past life onto one hard drive.
Yeah.
And call it, you know, go by years. And organize it and then throw away that computer.
Yeah, it's just
like, and say goodbye to stuff.
Yeah, do that KonMari thing, which is say goodbye, thank it, and say goodbye.
Yeah, because it's like once you get that done, then it's done. Like, I mean, you know, we digitally hoard, but our mum hoards.
And we
stuff.
hoard as well, Jonathan. We hold on to stuff.
Do.
Every single time I move space, I throw more stuff out. And currently, like, I was laying in bed and looking at my where all my clothes hang, and on top of it, I've got 3 boxes. And I was like, that's all valuable stuff that I want to keep. But I know some of it is just like cool things that I like the look of. You know, photos, magazine cuttings, things that I find inspiring. And I'm like, I just need to put some of that into a book sometimes. And I need to
scrapbook.
Yeah, and I need to throw some of it out. The things we'll do when this single is finished.
That's right. And speaking of singles, let's get on to this week's demo listening.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, hi, I'd like a plate of big tunes and a serving of piping hot bangers on the side.
So, Jeff, this week's demo is... I just sent it to you on WhatsApp.
Oh, okay. Nice one. All right, in that case. Oh, Buried?
Buried.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say you named this one.
I did. I think this is mostly... Yeah. All I'm going to... Yeah, I did name this one.
Should I be guessing? What should I be guessing about this? What am
Do you know anything about this? You're gonna hear it and you're gonna be like, oh, that tune.
Okay. The file name is Buried V19 for SO show. SO means Shock 1. And I think we played this song at Amber. I remember.
Yep.
Is it halftime?
Yep.
Is it in E minor? Because we mixed it with a metric song that was in E minor.
Yep. We mixed it with "Want My Love" by Metric.
Yeah. I think it's got like strings at the start.
Well, don't give it away, but just like
No, I'm just trying to remember. I'm just trying to like.
Okay.
It's like strings at the start and then like tries to drop in like kind of a groovy way. I think this song was cool. I just think it maybe was a bit straight. I think we never worked out. I mean, it was just a demo. Like we just wanted to play something and then it kind of died off. I seem to remember being like, I reckon this song could have legs.
I just would make it straight drum and bass, not halftime. Now.
Well, yeah, I'm excited to listen to it.
Or take the intro and make it into something. But yeah, take a listen and we could talk about it after.
Sounds good. I will. I'm listening. Yeah, that's a vibe.
Yeah, I reckon that intro is sick. The drop's just a bit boring. I never thought it was a groove thing because I thought those drums were quite cool. But I think
it's the sub, man. I think it's the 808 that we just wanted it to be continuous. It should have been more groove in the low end.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd go back and again, I think it's about taking the intro and just writing a better drop for it.
I think I could give you the not even give you the stems. I just give you the project.
Yeah, that patch.
It almost has a Outcast vibe in the second half, like Miss Jackson.
Sorry, Miss Jackson. Yeah, I don't love those chords.
I didn't mind them. I think they had a place with the vibe of the song, but I could see this being turned into something. I don't know. If anyone else wants to turn it into something with us, get in touch. But yeah, I quite like this. So it's a good little find. Do you want me to grab the stems and send it over sometime?
Yeah, do it.
Okay,
let's do it. I think that's a cool intro, and sometimes the intro is the hardest part to write for a song. So it's, be cool to take that somewhere.
Yeah, I think as well, like the little like ARP thing's cool, but it just has to. Yeah, on the drop you'd have to contrast that the pace of that ARP with something that was a bit faster and more upbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's something. This might be something there.
As we're coming to the end of the podcast, I'd like to reflect and say I think these conversations are very helpful because while we do have lots of conversations during the week, having one that's recorded between both of us is forcing us to talk about things in details that we might not have talked about them on the phone.
Yeah, it's also just like allowing us to get better at conversations that aren't work related, because sometimes we can fall into the trap if we'll chat and then we'll be like, oh yeah, we got to do this and we got to do this and we got to respond to that email and that's happening and it can feel like we're just working, but this is just a conversation. We don't really have anything idea what we're going to talk about when we go into them. It's just a conversation between two people who are related, who make music. And it's
almost the tagline of the podcast.
I think they're really good too, man. I find them somewhat therapeutic.
Cathartic?
Yeah. And it's nice to chat about, you don't know what you're going to talk about. It's like you're just sitting and having a conversation and we're having a beer or something like that.
Well, thanks for sharing with me and all of us about some of your emotions and talking about love. I think that was quite interesting.
Yeah, I think you ended up talking more about love, but I think it was there's so much to talk about that in all sorts of communication things. I think it's a deep, rich vein to mine, and it makes for some interesting insights. I had someone tell me the other day that they really enjoyed the podcast and they've been getting a lot of enjoyment out of it, and I think it's not why we do it, but it's like it makes it worth doing. When someone says, so. "Oh man, I really really like that," or like mentions something about it, you're like, "Oh, someone listened into the conversation, and we're making a difference." Maybe someone told me the other day that I had said something to them last year, and it had changed the way they thought about something. And while the message was a little bit vague, I felt this real, like, a bit of a hug from the universe, I guess, as I was told that I'd made a difference. And that's a really nice, that's actually, fuck it, that's not just really nice, that's like soul gratifying
Yeah.
to hear and to be like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. Something I often think to myself is that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I'm on the right path. I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. I'm being my authentic self. And when you get messages like that, that's easier to believe.
That's beautiful. And I think that's a beautiful way to end the podcast.
All right, buddy. Thanks for chatting to me again. I love you,
Thank
and
you.
I shall talk to you soon.
I live the.
Adrian!
I love you too, buddy. See ya.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on your podcast app and keep up to date with all new episodes. They're going to be coming out once a week. We are Ekko and Sidetrack on Facebook and Instagram. On Twitter, we are Ekko Sidetrack. Go listen to our music on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube, or wherever your ears consume happiness. Lots of love, people.